take this with a proverbial grain of salt. This does not mean bombing campaigns all around the world to make people afraid of you. As who was it used to say that walk softly and carry a big stick? Was that Teddy Roosevelt? I want to say, Reagan had this idea of peace through strength. Trump talks about peace through strength all the time. Easy to say, harder to pull off. I think if this weekend is any indication, by the way, did you see Trump's tweets yesterday? Stay out of Syria. Well, too late, Mr. President. We caused it. It seems to me this is logical. Why has Assad fallen so quickly? Because the CIA, in cahoots with other tyrannical, diabolical spy agencies and governments across the world, must have been thinking and are thinking, if we don't take Assad out now and bring it into what we have been working on since 2012, Trump is going to pull the plug on it. We're going to have to withdraw all the assets there. The world's going to find out what we've been up to. It's now or never. And so this seems to me to be the impetus of this. This is Representative Thomas Massey. It's pretty much what he said in a tweet just moments ago. It appears the deep state and the rebels they supported. By the way, we created ISIS. We created ISIS. We created ISIL. Let me repeat that to you. And again, no other radio or television personality is going to tell you this. The Central Intelligence Agency, in order to stay in the business of regime change, and in order to keep the trillion-dollar military-industrial complex empires going around the world, primarily the one in the United States, has to create havoc. The world must be at war. The United States must be threatened. We have to be, well, there's terrorists out there. We have to have that, not the other. This is business. There is a component of diabolical activity. This is true. There is a component of dead people and of souls, wasted souls and lives. That's all part of this as well. But the primary function of this is chaos. And so there is never peace. We don't want peace on earth. In the clip that we played from Charlie Brown, well, sure, Charlie Brown, I can explain to you what Christmas is. Linus, he gets one of the, it's peace to men of goodwill is what St. Luke's gospel actually said. This is contained in the angelic exaltation, the Gloria in Excelsis Deo. Peace on earth. One of the signs you see every Christmas, how many people mail cards out that just say peace on them? And then happy Christmas or Merry Christmas from the church family or whatever, and a peace card. I think it is Christian man's nature, once he is baptized, to wish for peace. Well, why are we governed then by people and by institutions that don't reflect that? Thomas Massey, it appears the deep state and the rebels they supported went into overdrive to overthrow Assad when Trump won the election, knowing Trump would end U.S. meddling in Syria. This is my tweet in 2019 when Trump pulled back from Obama's dangerous policy of destabilizing Syria. And Massey said this back in 2019. The civil war in Syria has been devastating to Syrian Christians and other groups. As we reported earlier, we have some loose numbers here for you. Around 2.3 million or so Christians, and according to the CIA in 2012 or so, after 12 years of U.S. foreign policy, meddling intervention with the CIA, driving this civil war in Syria, now 500,000 to 300,000 remain. Nice job. Wherever our foreign policy goes, Christians die. Wherever our foreign policy goes, bad people take over. The worst kind of people. The civil war in Syria has been devastating to Syrian Christians and other groups. It and the ruins of Iraq created space and conditions for ISIS. The U.S. was wrong to foment the war there. Thank you, at Real Donald Trump, for bringing sanity back to our foreign policy in Syria. That was in 2019. So the indication is that Trump was going to try, and President Trump would try and finish the job. So the CIA has to spring into high action, has to marshal all the assets they can. And then you have Biden going out there. What in the hell was this senile old man rambling about yesterday? Play Biden. Digital media file number 10. Everyone needs to hear this. Not because we have such great love and empathy and respect for Biden. He's pretty much going to tell you, yeah, we destabilized it. Yeah, we've been trying to get rid of Assad. Yes, my policy and our war in Ukraine, he actually walks right up to the line of saying that the Ukrainian war against the Russians is our war against the Russians. Watch. Listen.
Looking ahead, the United States will do the following. First, we'll support Syria's neighbors, including Jordan, Lebanon, Iraq, and Israel, should any threat arise from Syria during this period of transition. I will speak with leaders of the region in the coming days. I had long discussions with all of our people earlier this morning. And I'll send senior officials from my administration to the region as well. Second, we will help ensure stability in eastern Syria, protecting any personnel, our personnel, against any threats, and remain our mission against ISIS will be maintained, including the security of detention facilities where ISIS fighters are being held as prisoners. We're clear-eyed about the fact that ISIS will try to take advantage of any vacuum to reestablish its capabilities and to create a safe haven. We will not let that happen. In fact, just today, U.S. forces conducted dozens of precision strikes, airstrikes, within Syria, targeting ISIS camps and ISIS operatives. Third,
stop the tape.
We will engage.
How do you know? How do we know that? How do we know that there were ISIS camps? How is it possible? You know why? Because we have troops in Syria. Wait a minute. I must have missed the declaration of war against the Syrians. Why are the United States Special Forces, why are they in Syria? For what he's talking about. This is the end of a mission, folks. Biden is declaring victory. Roll the tape.
Engage with all Syrian groups, including within the process led by the United Nations, to establish a transition away from the Assad regime toward independent, sovereign, I want to say it again, sovereign Syria with a new constitution.
Stop the tape. Syria was independent. Syria was sovereign under the Ba'ath Party and the Assads. We still call it Syria, Joe. That means it's a country, you dumbass. You senile, feeble old bastard. Calling it by a name indicates a sovereignty. Otherwise, you would call it the various associated tribes of Syria. Roll the tape.
A new government that serves all Syrians. And this process will be determined by the Syrian people themselves. And the United States will do whatever we can to support them, including through humanitarian relief to help restore Syria after more than a decade of war and generations of brutality by the Assad family.
Stop the tape. You can't help the people in North Carolina, but the United States, we're bailing out the Ukrainians, we're bailing out the South Africans, and now we're going to bail out with humanitarian aid, code for we're going to give some money to the Clinton Global Initiative, and now we're going to bail out the people of Syria? What about, hey, there's another country that ends with an A, that is a sovereign state. It's called North Carolina. Could you bail them out?
We will
Take.
remain vigilant. Make no mistake, some of the rebel groups that took down Assad have their own grim record of terrorism and human rights abuses. We've taken note of statements by the leaders of these rebel groups in recent days, and they're saying the right things now. But as they take on greater responsibility, we will assess not just their words, but their actions.
And do what?
And we are mindful that there are Americans in Syria, including those who reside there, as well as Austin Tice, who was taken captive more than 12 years ago. We remain committed to returning him to his family. As I've said, this is a moment of considerable risk and uncertainty. But I also believe this is the best opportunity in generations for Syrians to forge their own future, free of opposition. It's also an opportunity though far from certain, for a more secure and prosperous Middle East, where our friends are safe, where enemies are contained. And it would be a waste of this historic opportunity if one tyrant were toppled and only to see a new one rise up in its place. So it's now incumbent upon all the opposition groups to seek a role in governing Syria, to demonstrate their commitment to the rights of all Syrians, the rule of law, and the protection of religious and ethnic minorities.
All right, shut this old man up. Okay, enough. You know, Angelo M. Codevilla, when he wrote that piece 12 years ago now, 13 years ago, America's ruling elite, people that live in other countries don't want American rule of law. They don't understand the rule of law the way we understand the rule of law. They don't understand peace and peace through strength the way that we understand peace through strength. Here's just a little something to chew on here, pursuant to that. They're allowed to think that way. They don't have to aspire to have a Jeffersonian republic. They don't have to aspire to have a union of states. They don't have to have a democracy. If they want to have a monarchy, or they want to have an aristocracy, or they want to have a brutal dictator. Or maybe the brutal dictator is not such a brutal dictator after all. Again, to try and understand this, I think they screwed it up so much that they've made it unintelligible. But let's be honest here. You know, what we call the Middle East, the Arab Peninsula, whatever the hell you want to call it, the Levant, I don't care, ancient Mesopotamia, whatever the hell you want to call it, has been a simmering cauldron of war and acrimony since Noah's boys. Read the Bible. It'll tell you all about it. The idea here that one hegemonic source, the United States of America, can, from 5,000 miles away, can marshal these people into some peaceful, everyone's just loving each other and singing Kumbaya and hanging out by the campfire and going and roasting marshmallows and eating s'mores. In this instance here, I agree with President Trump. Stay the F out. Let them sort it out, because they probably will. In some way, you may not like it. Here's the other thing. Why did this ever become important to the people of the United States? You want to take a guess? Anyone want to guess at this? There's a bunch of documentaries that have been basically banned. You're not allowed to watch them anymore, that were made about this in the 1960s and 1970s. How many of you know what this company called? Frank Wright did a show. You know what? I'm going to invite Frank on tomorrow's show. Get Frank to talk about this. How many of you know of this company called British Petroleum? BP for short. A quick little sidebar here. I won't drag you too far down off the beaten path here. British Petroleum was formed to do what? Most people don't know this. What was British Petroleum formed to do? Well, here's a trivia question. How many recoverable barrels of oil are on the island that is the United Kingdom? This is how many recoverable barrels of oil are on the island called United Kingdom? England. Your time starts now, Roger. Best of luck. Da, 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 da. I stop that. As near as we can tell, there are about this many recoverable barrels of oil on the island that is England.
0.0.
Now, at the time that British Petroleum was created, it was not known. All you correctors, I can just stop typing. Stop. I already know about the North Sea and about the oil that is underneath the seabed in the North Sea. There is some oil in GB, and it is off the northeastern coast of Scotland. And it is a very treacherous, horrible waters, the North Sea there. Maybe there's a little bit on the land up there near Aberdeen, where Scotland is, but most of it is offshore, and there's a significant presence of oil exploration that's going on there now. That wasn't happening back when BP was formed. So what happened? Someone discovered that there was oil in this country called Saudi Arabia. Look, don't take my word for it. As I said, there are dozens of documentaries that have been made about this. And when they discovered that there was oil in Saudi Arabia, and the automobile and the need for the refinery of complex hydrocarbons to make diesel, to make kerosene, to make gasoline, and then ultimately to make plastics and what have you, as it started to ramp up, where was the industrialist king of the world, which was England? Where was it going to get the fuel that it needed to keep the British Navy and British industrialism as the greatest industrial nation in the world? Of course, they failed in that. But where were they going to get the oil? Well, they were either going to have to buy it from us, or they're going to have to find another source. They found the other source. They found it in Arabia. British Petroleum was basically formed to go there and pilfer the resources of the Saudis, and then the other countries that came along, so that Britain could have access to oil. We didn't need it. The United States never needed it. It's the fact that we have conniving, clandestine operating people here that have made it appear as though we needed their oil. We never needed it. We don't need their oil today. Trump knows this. So this is why the squalor in what we call the Mideast today is over the United Kingdom's need for Saudi Arabian and other Arabian Peninsula's oils. It's pretty much what it comes down to. If you want a simple explanation of it, there it is. Now, here's the bitch of the whole thing. And again, I asked President Trump to reconsider mouthing off and telling Putin that he can't sell his oil to the rest of the world. Do you want to buy your oil from the Christian-leaning now nation that is Russia? Or do you want to buy it from the Mohammedan wackos that run the Arabian Peninsula? You can call it a devil's bargain all you want. Me, I would pick the Russians. They're more stable. They are more amenable to long-term treaties. They don't have jihadis that want to kill all of us and all of them. It would seem to me, but you see, the Western world can't do this because we have to have a hobgoblin and we have to call it Russia. We have to have an enemy that we can all agree on that we hate. His name is Putin. Or another enemy that we can all agree on that we must hate. His name is Xi. I don't hate Xi. I hate communism. You hate communism. Last I checked, there's no communism in Russia. So why not make a deal with the Russians? They can't. That's an admission of mistake, and the whole damn thing crumbles. The $1 trillion in military spending and hardware, the entirety of the military superstate, gone. You make a deal with the Russians. A sound, sane government that operated for the benefit of the people of the United States would demand what I just told you. A sound government that operated for the benefit of the people of the United Kingdom would demand what I just told you. They take I take the job. Clarence Frogman Henry once said. They would demand it, and it would happen. Can peace happen? Yes, it can. You have to have the willpower. You have to have the desire to want it. And the people that are running our world don't want it, folks. You know what they want? They want never-ending war, and they're going to get it unless we stop them.